Long before kings sat on thrones, before castles rose across the land, and long before humans ever set foot in Westeros, the continent already belonged to something ancient. It wasn't empty. It wasn't waiting to be discovered. It was alive, covered in endless forests, shaped by magic, and watched over by beings older than recorded history. The children of the forest were the first rulers of Westeros, small in stature, but immense in power. They lived deep within the forest, hidden beneath towering weirwood trees. They didn't build cities or forge empires. They didn't need to. Their civilization wasn't based on conquest or control. It was built on connection to the land, to nature, and to something far older than anything humans would ever understand. At the heart of their world were the weirwood trees. Pale white bark, deep red leaves, and carved faces that seemed to watch everything. But these weren't just symbols. Through the weirwoods, the children could see across vast distances. Some could even look into the past itself, experiencing memories as if they were happening in real time. Westeros to them wasn't just a place. It was a living network of memory and awareness. Their magic wasn't loud or destructive. It was subtle, ancient, and deeply rooted in the natural world. They could shape the land, influence growth, and move unseen through forests as if they were part of them. Where humans would later build roads and cities, the children left almost no trace. Their presence blended into the environment, making their civilization nearly invisible to those who didn't know where to look. They weren't alone in this world. Giants roamed the land as well, massive beings who lived in quiet harmony with the forest. Like the children, they weren't conquerors. They didn't seek power. They simply existed as part of the natural balance. Together, these ancient inhabitants formed a world without kingdoms, without borders, and without war. For thousands of years, that balance held. Westeros remained untouched by ambition, free from the kind of conflict that would later define it. The forests stretched endlessly. The weirwoods watched silently, and the children of the forest ruled, not through dominance, but through harmony. But that world wasn't meant to last. Everything changed when the first men arrived. They came from Essos, crossing a massive land bridge known as the Arm of Dawn. Unlike the children, they brought tools, weapons, and a very different way of life. Where the children saw sacred land, the first men saw opportunity. Forests became resources. Trees became obstacles. And without understanding their significance, the first men began cutting down the weirwoods. To the children, this wasn't just destruction. It was an attack on the very foundation of their world. The weirwoods weren't just trees. They were memory. They were connection. They were everything. And for the first time in their history, the children went to war. The conflict between the children of the forest and the first men lasted for generations. It wasn't a simple war of armies and battles. It was something deeper. Magic against steel. Nature against expansion. The children used their knowledge of the land to fight back, striking from the forest. Disappearing into terrain the first men struggled to navigate. Desperate to stop the invasion, the children turned to their most powerful magic. According to legend, they shattered the Arm of Dawn itself, breaking the land bridge and letting the sea rush in. It was an act of immense power, one meant to prevent more humans from crossing into Westeros. But it was too late. The first men were already there, and they weren't leaving. Over time, the war reached a turning point. neither side could truly destroy the other. The children had magic, but they were few in number. The first men had strength in numbers, but they couldn't fully overcome the land itself. So instead of victory, there was compromise. The pact was formed. Under the sacred weirwood trees, the children of the forest and the first men agreed to peace. The first men would stop cutting down the weirwoods and respect the forests. In return, they would be allowed to remain in Westeros. For a time, the balance was restored. But it was never the same. Human settlements began to spread. Forests slowly disappeared. And while the first men honored the pact at first, the presence of humans alone began to reshape the world. The children withdrew deeper into the wilderness, becoming less visible, less influential. And then came the greatest mistake they would ever make. Faced with the growing threat of humanity, and possibly fearing what might come next, the children created a weapon, the White Walkers. Using ancient magic, they transformed a human into something else entirely, something cold, something powerful, something beyond their control. What they created wasn't just a weapon, it was a force of destruction that would threaten every living thing in Westeros. The long night followed, a period of darkness and winter that nearly wiped out all life. In that moment, it no longer mattered who ruled Westeros. Humans, children, and giants all faced the same extinction. And for the first time, they stood together. The children of the forest, the first men, and the giants united to fight against the White Walkers. Together, they pushed back the darkness and ended the long night. But victory came at a cost. The children of the forest never truly recovered. Their numbers dwindled, their presence faded, and over time, they disappeared from the world they once ruled. The giants followed, slowly vanishing as well, and humanity remained. Castles replaced forest, kingdoms replaced balance, and the ancient magic that once defined Westeros became nothing more than stories. But the world didn't forget entirely. The weirwood trees still stand in hidden places, their carved faces watching silently. The north still holds fragments of that older world. And deep beneath the surface of history, the legacy of the children of the forest remains. Because before kings and kingdoms, before war and conquest, Westeros belonged to something else. A civilization that didn't fall in battle, but slowly faded as the world changed around it. And in trying to protect their home, they created the very thing that nearly destroyed it.